He says, what's your name? I said, Paul Anka. He said, Paul Anka. Paul Anka, I'm the president of Poland. I mean, what are the odds on it, right? I said, well, nice to meet you. He said, would you ever come to my country? I'm going to say, no. I'm at 30,000 feet with guys with... I said, yeah, whatever, you know. So I get home, fade out, fade in. I get a call from the State Department. Like 2 months later, they said, did you meet the president of Poland on a public? I said, yeah. Well, there's $15,000 in the Bank of America, and we would like you to go. I said, really?
Go to Poland?
To Poland.
Why?
To sing for his people. You know, I was a...
Oh, he deposited 15,000.
Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah. Well, whoever...
Before you even said yes to the gig?
Before. They had to go through the State Department. He went through the State
So
Department.
what did you do?
I went.
You did?
I said...
Why, if you didn't want to?
I didn't say I didn't want to.
Oh.
I couldn't give him a quick answer. It wasn't
I
like
see.
going to Vegas or Fontainebleau.
Right.
It's Poland we're talking about. So now, I'm curious. You know, I've lived my life
What
being
year
curious.
was this?
1960.
Oh, so they were still behind the Iron Curtain.
Oh, yes. Was it 63? Yeah, I'll tell you when it was because I'm
Wow.
spacing it. I go over.
Wow.
First of all, we check in a hotel. One bathroom for the whole floor. No room service. And dark and bleak. I go to the Canadian Embassy. And I say, can I have some ham and some food and some bread? I mean, it was a choice. The only thing I had was vodka. The Polish vodka with the straw in it. I mean, we blasted out every night.
What did you eat?
Ham, crackers.
Oh, they did have that.
Oh, yeah. Well, the embassy gave it to me.
Oh, I see.
So now they started bringing these people to these shows on these streetcars. And the tracks went right into the stadiums. And every night when I go to work, I'd see like old factories in the distance and one light. It was depressing, right? But the people were amazing. They were unbelievable. They knew the music because they were manufacturing postcards and putting my music on the postcard and selling it to the people behind the Iron Curtain.
Wow.
So now, the point of all this, I'm sitting with this guy from United Press, like this, around 6 at night. And there was an old radio in the corner. And they were pumping in Radio Free
Europe.
Europe. And they have a limited vocabulary. It's like talking to Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's like 60 words. So now, there's like 60 words. And I'm sitting with this guy, and I hear the guy goes, and President Kennedy landed in Dallas at 1, and he was shot.
Oh.
And it's just, and do you know when you're so removed?
That's where you heard it?
Sitting in a dressing room
Wow.
in Poland with this guy. I said to this guy, I said, I think Kennedy's just killed. He said, what do you mean? And we go over to the radio. Sure enough, I start crying. I go on stage a few minutes later, and the place was packed and had all government people. I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going home. My president's just been killed. But I will come back one day. I just have to go home.
Right.
The place, they loved him. They went nuts. The next day at the airport, people were coming up on Matchbox covers writing, we loved him. The Russians did it. I'll never forget that day.
Well, and I mean, it's especially poignant for the kids who may not know that in 1963, when this was going on,
Yeah.
Poland being behind the Iron Curtain was supposedly part of the Warsaw Pact, of course, led by the Soviet Union, and we were the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
We were NATO and the West and America, and there were communists and, you know, in the Soviet orbit, and we were supposed to just totally fucking hate each other.
That's right.
So the fact that they reacted this way shows you it was all a facade.
And I had the same, a total, because when I went to Czechoslovakia, they heard about Poland. I went back a couple of years later to Czechoslovakia, and they assigned a communist member, this woman, Natalie Lachiva, and she was a communist member. And she said to me, you know, they're not all communists. There's only 1 million of us. And she'd show me her card. And every night at dinner, we'd debate about my country, the U.S., what we stand for, and what she thought about us. And we would go back and forth after every show. But the people were amazing. They'd show up. I'd go down and do a show in the bar. There'd be a few hundred that would show up. And the last dinner when we said goodbye, I said, hopefully one day you'll understand where I'm coming from. Fade out, fade in. I get a letter from this woman about a year after the date. Remember when the Russians moved in with the tanks and took over Czechoslovakia?
68.
Yeah. They move in. She writes me a letter. She said, "Dear Mr. Anka, you were so right
Wow.
about what we have to live through. You were so right about your country. Can you help me? My daughter, who you met," and I met this kid of hers, "I've smuggled her out of Czechoslovakia to Belgium, and I don't have any money to pay." I said, "This is from the U.S." I answered her. I sent her the money. I put the kid through school.
Good for you. It makes me so frustrated when I see so much sympathy for communism among kids today, because they just are not taught history. And just because we lived through it doesn't really reach them, because they're entitled and they think they know everything. And that's a lot of youth of every generation.
Of course.
You think you know everything.
Yeah.
Okay. But we did try this. It is an evil, evil system that just doesn't work. I don't know what debate you were having around the bratwurst barrel there at 12:30 at night when you were 22 years old, arguing for America. But, my argument would be, you're fucking standing in line for a potato. And have you seen our supermarkets? I mean, you have to harness human nature to make any institution successful. Human nature is selfish.
That's right.
Communism pretends it is not.
That's right.
If I had to write a book on communism, I would just put that sentence in there.
That's it.
That's it.
Thin book.
Thin.
I mean,
Bill Maher's thin books.
Bill, I'd come home. In both countries, you'd see lines around the block in these little stores for toothpaste, for food, for a T-shirt. Everyone in my band and myself, we left everything we brought. I left my clothes, everything. My suitcases were empty in both countries. I just gave them away. Gave them away.
I saw in the documentary, somebody comes up to you in some foreign country, and it was very similar to what you just said. Like, oh, you're so modest and humble, unlike so many people in this business. You're so gracious about, if somebody doesn't know you right away, you have none of that. Really, you don't know who I am. And like in 2 seconds they do. Oh, that guy.
Oh, you mean the three kids from Chicago?
Yes.
With the ice cream in Japan.
I mean, they were like from somewhere.
They're from Chicago.
Yeah, okay, but they were not American. They were not American or Canadian.
Yeah, American. The kid was from Chicago. His father had all my albums, and one kid was from Australia.
But as soon as you said your name, they were like, it clicked.
Yeah.
And that's a great quality, because people. You do your career with great joy. It reads. When you sing, you do it more joyfully. You're such a worthy successor to Sinatra. Like you're the only one still kind of hitting that beat for a lot of us who love that.
No one can be Sinatra, and I appreciate that. I get it.
But you do great covers. That's why I'm suggesting. You know what else you could do? You're so right. For what's wrong.
Oh my God, you got a good one there. Yeah.
You're right. Not my version. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You're so right for what's wrong in my life. It's very romantic.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you heard, the thing about Sinatra was, no matter what you listen to, as soon as it came on, within 5 seconds, he puts you in the mood. 5 seconds. And he's ruined it for every other singer for years for trying to stand in front of a big swing orchestra because nobody liked him.